Tim Biggin, options strategist over at Pilot AI. Very good morning to you, Tim. It's been an interesting chart, I would say, this one, given, of course, the turnaround strategy. I feel like the street has been tolerating, accepting or forgiving of obviously what they've been doing here because, I mean, over the course of the year, I mean, it's still up, what, like 5% or so? But coming into this, it was still up, what, like 10%? So just walk us through an example trade on this one.
Yeah, absolutely, Sam. And, the quarters you were talking about, certainly the quarter itself was pretty darn good, I think, beat on the top and bottom line. The guidance, kind of, I guess, guarded, right? They don't want to be putting it out there too much. But I kind of like, as I do many stocks here, being positioned to buy it on a further dip. And for UPS, this 5% drop is kind of a flesh wound with earnings. This is a stock that's kind of going nowhere, as you just talked about, year over year, but you have these bouts of big moves here. So that 98.50 area, big time support on the chart. So I like positioning below that, going out, selling the June 95.90 put spread, getting about $1 net credit, so like the 25% return on risk, about a 7 point or 7% or so downside cushion on the stock. And I don't mind being a buyer on dips on certainly UPS, which I don't think will be affected too much by AI as we're seeing the market every day swing back and forth. Deliveries certainly more difficult, maybe not impossible long-term to put in an AI context, but I kind of like the shares here at lower levels. I wouldn't be an aggressive buyer up here, though.
Yeah, if anything, you would expect this one to utilize AI rather than AI sort of eating its lunch, sort of a difficult kind of business to replicate in that sense, you could argue. But thoughts on the overall market today? I mean, particularly given we're heading into a pretty monster week for earnings and the Fed.
Yeah, absolutely. Tomorrow, in my opinion, is one of the biggest, certainly, market cap earnings days I've ever seen in my trading career, which goes back almost 40 years now. And plus we have, the Fed meeting, probably the last one by Powell. Don't expect really much out of the Fed, but more importantly, what those four big earnings reports tomorrow and then Apple on Thursday come out with, and more importantly, how the market reacts to them, given where these stocks are valued at. Valuation on all these names at historic extremes, so they better deliver or we may see a further down leg in this market, which I think is almost needed here, given the ferocious rally we've seen since making the lows, it seems like, at the beginning of the month.
Yeah, and as we've been discussing, it seems like this journal story around OpenAI sort of falling short of some of its targets has been a bit of a momentum killer going into what is going to be a pretty big day tomorrow. 2,100 companies reporting this week, 40% of the S&P 500, 5 of the Mag 7. We'll be watching. Tim, always appreciate it. Thanks so much. Tim Biggin, options strategist, Pilot AI.